That was amazing. Thank you very much, Esse. We still have you on the show, and viewers, this is how we do it on the show. But still to come is another person that my very good friend Karen Leonard. She's right here to talk to us about what we talk about, family therapy. Please join me to welcome her on the show. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Please have a seat.
Thank
you
you
very
very
much. You're welcome. How's your day today? Good?
Good, very good.
Did they look after you at the backstage?
They did.
Enjoy
Looked
yourself.
after us very well.
And your families are here with you
They
as
are
well.
indeed,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. Karen, before we go into the things you do, let's talk about yourself. First of all, I just want my viewers and my audience get to meet you so we can go into the other things that you do.
So I've got two jobs. One job is I lecture in social care,
Yes.
and that is in Athlone Institute of Technology. But the job I think you are most interested in is my work as a psychotherapist,
Yes.
specifically family therapy.
Yeah.
So family therapy is a psychotherapy or counselling approach, but it works particularly with families and the whole system.
Very
So
true.
instead of just an individual, it sometimes involves maybe other people in the family in the session. Sometimes, so for example, around maybe things like separation, bereavement, instead of just one person being in the room, sometimes we invite the parents and others in the family to talk through things that they might feel would be useful. So sometimes families aren't talking about things.
Yes.
It's the kind of elephant in the room that they don't
That
want
is-
to talk about.
That is very true.
But
That
a
is
lot of
very
the
true.
time, it's what they need to talk about.
Talk about.
Yeah.
You have to drag them out to bring those things out.
Absolutely. And sometimes it comes out that it's, you know, a child might be displaying some emotional problems or behavioural problems, and the parents get concerned about it and they come to me, but sometimes it has to be that the parents also need to come. It may be a bigger than just the child, it may be
That is
something
very
the
true.
whole family are going through. And sometimes the parents also have to try and get their heads around that their child is no longer a child.
That is very
They're
true.
growing.
I'm just going to bring Esse into
Yes,
to that.
yes.
Esse, from what Karen was just saying there, which is very important, and from your background you're coming from, you know, you have kids when those divorce came up and all of that. What would be your take on that?
Well, I mean, basically from what Karen is saying, like when the divorce happened, my children were still pretty young. And so it took me a while to get into the act of being a single parent, trying to bring them up. And thankfully, I have two girls and a boy. So thankfully, I think my daughters caught on quickly that it was just us. And so it wasn't too hard for me with the girls. But I mean, with my son, it was a little bit hard because then there was a lot going on with him as a teenager coming up. He's 15 now, but I was having that issue of where will he fit in and that kind of way. And it took a while, but we then understood what was happening with him, especially in school and things like that. And so I mean I went into the school, spoke with the principal, but we got to a stage where we began to understand where he is at and how we needed to work with him.
Wow. And Karen, what are the other techniques that you use in kind of working in different areas like this?
So a lot of the time, while we say family therapy, that might imply that we never see individuals, but we in fact, and oftentimes in a session, what I might do is break a session and speak to parents on their own, because there might be things that maybe parents might want to discuss separate to the child, particularly if there's been a separation. And sometimes maybe both parents don't want to come, so we just kind of work with whoever will come.
Is available,
exactly. So it's really to help families go through the grief process, which does happen when there's been a bereavement or where there's been a separation, you know.
Yeah.
So it is kind of going through all those stages and all those emotions. And you make a very good point that maybe different siblings and they experience things differently.
Yes,
so
very
not
true, very
everybody experiences grief or bereavement or separation in the same way.
Yes.
So sometimes, you know, the boy might be acting one way and the girl might be acting a different way. And you know, so
it's a lot.
So it's for us, maybe we give parents techniques in terms of maybe how to deal with the different responses to loss.
Is there any advice you want to give to parents that they need to actually do? Because like you said, for teenagers, you know, when they're growing up, there are different things going through their whole system as they're growing up, meeting friends, or like you mentioned, the networking. She mentioned about, you know, when she was not with her husband anymore, it's difficult and things like that. What would be the kind of advice you would kind of throw out to parents out there so they'd be able to kind of, you know, follow this step? Because these days, you know, technology is out there. If you have a child who is maybe 9 years old, at that stage, they already start living a different world. You know?
Yes. So I suppose one of the things is, you know, the child doesn't just turn up as a teenager. So communication, you mentioned it in relation to your book, it's really important. So, you know, it's starting from a very young age, keeping the door open, keeping the channels, and not keeping it very natural. So it's not like, oh, let's sit down and talk about the divorce, but having a conversation just over maybe, you know, something that they're doing in the evening, or a walk or an activity or something. But if you've laid the groundwork as a child, then when they become a teenager, you know, usually that does stand to the relationship, you know. And sometimes maybe the teenager will move away, and that's natural, and then they may come back again if the foundation is there.
That was brilliant. Esse, let's come back to yourself a little bit more. You're not just a writer, you're also a singer. Can you talk us through, from your experience, what inspires you to go into music?
I started singing way back when. Like, I started singing as early as maybe 17, 18, and my first album was released in 1992, you know, and then I was singing secular music then. I don't know, back in Nigeria, people would know me as the lady that sang Fine Pepper Soup, you know, and back to the basics. And so, but along the line in my journey, in life, I realized that I was at a place where I wanted to sing. I want my singing would be focused on just, you know, edifying God and bringing people closer to God through my music, you know. And so in 1997, I released my first gospel album, and I've been working on gospel music ever since. And I believe my type of gospel music has a message for each and every one.
Wow, it's very inspirational, because I listened to it during the week, and we were going through that even as at yesterday. It was great. So, Karen, do you sing as well?
No, definitely not.
I will
if you want your show to end,
Karen, we'll discuss this later on the show.
Definitely not.
And Karen, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Like you said, you do a job. You know, what are how do you manage all of this? Is it not a difficult job for you? You know, how do you able to kind of deal with issues like this?
So one of the things that all psychotherapists do, they always have a supervisor. So when things get really, you know, maybe once a month or that, you go and you have supervision. You don't identify clients, but you just talk through maybe their issues and how you're feeling about the different situations, whatever.
True.
And then, so that's one thing. The other thing is maybe in my own life, my husband does a lot of the parenting and keeping the house going, etc.
Wow, can we just give an applause for the husband for that? It's very rare to get the man to do anything.
Yeah.
So that's
Wonderful guy. We should give him a medal.
Well, my husband does everything, you know, so that's great. And then I also have my mum and dad live quite near me, so they also help us out, you know, a lot. And then I suppose I do, in terms of fitness, I run and I go to the gym, and I find that helps to kind of release tension, you know. And in fact, when I'm working with my young people, a lot of them suffer with anxiety. Yeah. So I'm always talking to them about the importance of exercise.
It's really good, because I do it myself, and I believe some of my staff, we all do that, because it really helps you. It helps the mind. It's just this kind of feeling you get out of that. It doesn't matter if it's 10 or 20 minutes you put into it. After you finish, you just revive yourself back. Wonderful. Karen, before we're gonna let you go and Esse, first of all, I want to let my audience make some noise and a big applause for them, please. I know, Esse, you're going to be performing for us later on the show. Wonderful. Are we looking forward to that? Yes? That was good. So before we let you guys go, we have what we call the G quiz. So we're going to go through that. But first, let's go on a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll deal with that. Ready for that? Yes? So viewers, stay for more of this. We'll be right back. Thank you.